Now, the first half of the year has been good for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The local bourse has posted its best monthly performance in over a year. The JSE's gains reaching 10% by the end of June. To discuss this, economist Sifiso Skinjana joins us. Sifiso, thanks very much. I mean, there was doom and gloom all over the economy. But if you were invested in the JSE this past 6 months, it really wasn't such a bad ride, was it?
No, not at all. And if you were invested even more heavily in the mining stocks, gold has been up quite a bit, I think up to 60% in the year. The platinum miners are also up, close to the same amount. And so it has been, I think, quite a good investment season, call it, from the start of the year. And it really tells the story sometimes of, how the context of, the economic climate need not necessarily translate into how investments perform on the JSE.
And a part of that reason is because JSE-listed companies have so much of their operations outside of the country. So you have this big widening gap between what is happening in the local economy versus how the JSE is performing. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the likes of miners. I mean, if you were into AngloGold Ashanti, Gold Fields, gold miners, 46% up. So, you're in good state of affairs if you were invested there.
So, I mean, it's a fortune that we see a benefit coming out of, what's been happening with China and the US in terms of the trade war.
Yeah.
So what tends to happen is that when there's volatility and there's vulnerability in the global market, investors tend to go to gold as a safe haven. And therefore, then what we've seen is exactly that, where a lot of, money did go towards gold, and that benefited the miners by a significant, I think, portion. We did see now that it seems like the conversations between Trump and Xi Jinping are progressing, that the gold prices, I think, retracted a little bit. But one of the big drivers, of course, as I said, is the fact that gold is a safe haven. But you also saw platinum and palladium doing particularly well over the last 6 months as well, which speaks to the demand that comes for those goods. We know that platinum is used and palladium is in auto catalytic converters, which is in diesel cars. So we saw a little bit of that coming through in those prices as well.
Now, when we turn our attention to the local economy, I mean, so much of this economy depends, as we heard at a press briefing today, when SARS, the revenue service, launched the tax season, which started today. But really, we've really got to start tightening the screws on non-compliance here. I mean, that money is well needed. It needs to go into hospitals. It needs to go into building schools. So just tax avoidance is a big pressure on SARS, and they've got to get it right.
Yeah, so the continent as a whole is facing issues of illicit financial flows, as well as then, of course, tax avoidance, which, of course, those tend to be tied in terms of the black market that exists in the economy. We know that SARS collects about 38% of their revenue from personal income taxes and about 17% from corporate income taxes. And we also heard that one of the key focus areas for SARS right now is investing in their technology. And I think that's trying to speak to around, I guess, the initiatives that they're putting together to really try and tighten the belt around, discovering people who aren't, complying from a tax point of view. But they really need to do a lot more, I think, than they're doing right now, primarily because the economy is just not doing so great. And so a lot of the companies that are operating, small businesses who might have been positive contributors to the fiscus, if they feel a squeeze, and then you can expect a downward pressure on those corporate income taxes as well. We also saw that there was no inflationary increases in the personal income tax brackets also. And so I think the revenue as a whole, as a basket, is definitely at risk. And it is even more important now that there's an intensified focus in terms of really ensuring that all the non-compliant guys are brought to book, and they are pushed in terms of paying their taxes.
And it's an ambitious target. I mean, 1.4 trillion rand. Sifiso, thanks very much indeed for coming in. Economist Sifiso Skinjana there talking to us about the JSE and tax season launch. Well.